Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, Keith Hatfield, Man Alive. And this is going to be the spoiler section of our review of It Chapter 2, which we saw yesterday. And so if you have not seen the movie, and you don't want it to be ruined for you, please leave now.
Yeah,
But
check
still,
out the spoiler-free review.
check out the spoiler-free review that we did, because this one is going to get into spoiler territory, and we might as well.
We need that button to press that would do like the from Star Trek Red Alert.
Red Alert.
Okay, anyways.
All right, so It Chapter 2 runs at 169 minutes, and it's directed by Andy Muschietti.
Muschietti?
Yeah. So it's 11 minutes short of 3 hours long. And my gal Ann, what do you think? I know that you did not like it. And I was disappointed in it. This is a movie, as we touched on in the non-spoiler review, that I was so looking forward to, because I did enjoy It Chapter 1, even though there was a lot of it that was different from the book, which I've read the book a couple of times, and she's read it quite a few times and everything, and I know movies and books are apples and oranges, and I definitely took that into consideration. But I did enjoy quite a bit of It Chapter 1, and I just thought this was going to be a home run hit. Plus the trailer that they showed, where Beverly Marsh, played by Jessica Chastain, goes into her old apartment, and she's greeted by the old woman, which is It, of course, but they showed that in the trailer, and I just thought, man, this is going to be so scary, and I love scary movies. And and the very first scene in the movie, which is the gay couple that are attacked by a little street gang cronies, a bunch of cronies from the carnival,
Punks.
And then one of them is thrown over the bridge down in the water and is retrieved out of the water by Pennywise. And Pennywise is back after 27 years, and the killing begins again. And that scene was right out of the book, and I thought they did that so well.
It was excellent.
And so I thought, man, this is going to set up for, this movie is going to be 3 hours of nothing but fantastic horror. And when 3 hours were up...
Terror Train.
That's right. When 3 hours were up, I just kind of had a hollow feeling, like, man, I'm kind of disappointed, and that disappoints me. So, alright, let's get into it, man. Spoilers. So this is spoiler section, as I told you before, but we're going to get right into it. So, Annie...
I just really did not like this movie at all. I thought the ending was so terrible. I thought the ending was so horribly stupid that it overshadowed anything that I did like about the movie, and it sucked because, I don't know, it just... The opening scene of Adrian Mellon getting thrown off the bridge by the jerks and then Pennywise eating him was so good. It was so good. And I mean, like, I had physical anxiety. You know, here's this scene where they did it so well, you know, because, you know, you feel uncomfortable. You feel uncomfortable on a variety of levels, because number one, you're uncomfortable because you're seeing people get treated terribly, you know, that's not right that they should get treated like that by other humans. And then, of course, then the poor guy, after getting the crap beat out of him by the jerks, ends up going over the bridge and sees somebody that he thinks is going to save him. Oh no, it's Pennywise eating his heart out. And I was just like, oh, this is so good.
Right.
I know.
And then when then after that, where it shows the sewer pipe kicking out all those bodies, parts, and everything. Now, was that supposed to be
it
the
was
children
a flashback.
from the... Okay.
That was a flashback because remember they were showing how
Henry Bowers.
How Henry Bowers got blamed for all the other murders, and they were very unclear about that. Right. They weren't clear at all that Henry had been blamed for all the child murders in part one. Well, they did just arrest him for that.
Right.
But they were implying that because he kept saying, "I killed them all." Right. Remember, he was saying, "I killed them all." So, but after having such a strong opening, it just really went to poop. For me, anyways. For me.
So Mike Hanlon he's the only one that stays in Derry, and he's kind of the vanguard because he's there. He wants to know when Pennywise, if and when Pennywise is going to come back, because they all make the promise at the end of It Chapter 1, when they're children, that should Pennywise come back, they promised they would all come back to defeat him. And this is what has happened. After 27 years, the 6 others of the Losers Club have moved off into different parts of the world, and they have forgotten. They've forgotten anything about Derry, their childhood, anything. And when he knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that Pennywise is responsible for the new series of deaths, that he gives them all a call. And as soon as they answer, suddenly there's a jolt. They remember something about their childhood, and they know that they must return. And out of the 6 that have moved away from Derry, only 5 return, and because poor old Stan he couldn't take it.
Can't hack it. Which we knew was going to happen anyways.
Right, because that was out of the book as well.
And the miniseries.
Yes. And that somehow, though, in this movie, because Bill, when he was in the first movie, he was the leader of the Losers Club, and somehow they diminish his character in this. He's not, they start up, he's writing, his books are being turned into TV series or movies or whatever, and basically everybody thinks he, no pun intended, is a clown, because even though his books might be good, everybody hates his endings to his books.
I thought that was ironic, considering I hated the ending to this movie.
And I didn't get that. I don't understand what the whole purpose of that is. And Audra, his wife, is basically, they might as well have not even put her in the movie, because she doesn't really play any part whatsoever.
And I thought that was one of the things that really... because I'm looking at this, I looked at these 2 movies as more of like a redo, like a remake, reboot of the miniseries, the television miniseries. And one thing that the television miniseries got right, which I think it got a lot of things right, considering how it was made for TV and at the time it was made, was the relationship between Bill and Audra. Right. And how that whole theme of love conquers all. And so, in the miniseries and in the book both, Audra had been traumatized by the Deadlights and put into this catatonic state, and what brought her out of it was Bill's love for her, and Bill's riding her on silver through the streets of Derry, is what brought her back out of it. And that was really powerful, I think, a really powerful message. And I think that the fact that they didn't even make her character a second thought, right, in this movie, I think,
as well as
it wasn't as good.
Tom, Beverly's husband, they didn't even...
Yeah, he never chased after her.
They never chased after her, and that was one of the... Well, even in the miniseries, they brought him... He was a character that came back to Derry with bad intentions. He comes back to kill Beverly. They don't even... Once Beverly gives him the 1-2 punch or whatever, that's the last we see.
Which is a good scene. That is a good scene. You always like it when a woman is being beat up by a man and she turns around and turns the tables on him. That's always a feel-good scene. So I did like that.
Another character that they diminished, to me, they diminished greatly, who was so good in the book, was Mike Hanlon, because he is the one that chooses to stay behind and, as I said, be the vanguard to watch for Pennywise. And in this movie, they've made him basically borderline goofily crazy.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
I didn't like that. And
I didn't like Mike's character, what they did with Mike's character in the first movie either. And I was hoping that it would get corrected in this one because of the length of the film. I thought they had time to do that, and they did not.
Right. And they give him this little short backstory of about his parents dying in a house fire, and it literally says in the paper what 2 crackheads die in a paper, because that's what papers write. Crackheads
right.
Write
I was
that
like,
in
come
the
on,
paper.
maybe in Derry it does happen that way. I don't know.
So I did not like how they did that, they did his character. Henry Bowers, who was like so intimidating and scary in so many ways in the first movie, they just made into a goofball in this one.
Yeah.
He's still dangerous, but instead he's like laughable. And then Pennywise himself, I just somehow or another, I don't know exactly how they did it, but he was just not as scary in this movie as he was in the first one. He was not as
intimidating at all.
And it's other than like a couple of, like the scene at the very beginning with the homosexual couple, and then I don't even know if they bring up anything else before everybody comes to town, but Derry is like clueless. You wouldn't even know that anything was going on. But you might see a newspaper every once in a while about a missing child or something like that, but other than that, you wouldn't know that there's this terror has returned,
Right. Like, yeah. But I do know, I get, because Mike went down to the scene of that murder, and it was written, come home, come home, come home, and only he could see it, obviously. Right. So he knew that the murders had begun again, that Pennywise was feeding again, and that's why. But I definitely like the idea that he had been waiting and watching, and if you've read the book, and even seen the first miniseries movie, he doesn't want to call these people home. He doesn't want to bring them back unless he absolutely has to, and he's like trying to tell himself, this is just a coincidence. This isn't, I don't need to call them home. And he waits until it's absolutely 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt that Pennywise has returned. And in this movie, it's like he just calls them all right away. Come on home, and
And they make him, like I said, they make him like borderline crazy, because he's just like...
Mike is one of my favorite characters from the book, and I know that you can't get everything in a book into a movie. I understand that. But Mike is so knowledgeable about the town, and even as a kid, he was like wise beyond his years, because he was the only black kid, in the town, and he was always being picked on for, by the bullies and the racists, and his family had to deal with a lot, and he is a kid that is wise beyond his years and knows more than he should, because he's seen that the world is like a crabby place sometimes. And he's a great character, and I just feel like this movie did not give him justice at all.
Well, it's like I said in the non-spoiler video or whatever. If nothing else, they could have, maybe they should have just made this into a trilogy, because there was just so much backstory to Derry and how Pennywise influenced over hundreds of years, because Pennywise has been around, according to the book, and that literally billions of years. Right. And his origin in this is just, they just barely touch on it, and even that
didn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It was like thrown together and CGI'd with those crazy looking Indians.
So there's a scene where Mike, he kind of drugs Bill so that
which is weird.
He can get the peyote vision or whatever, the vision quest of its origins.
That wasn't very good.
And they show like a star falling to the earth, and then everything looks like a Tim Burton animation or something. They don't even show real people, and it's like they're trying to explain that it would appear to them as like like a Thunderbird or something like that, and then it shows like an animated child doing this, and then showing the animated Indians, Native Americans gathering up together, and it was terrible, man. There was just like, because at the end of the movie, at the final showdown, Pennywise keeps going, "What? You're saying this to me? I am the devourer of worlds. I am the devourer of worlds." And that's what he was. I mean, he had literally been around for billions of years, going from one galaxy to the next, destroying everything in his wake. And in this, he's just a clown that hangs out in the sewer.
Yeah,
and he's come back after 27 years, and coming for you. And they just don't make him scary in this. He's
not scary.
Everything is cartoony to me. Like, the different things that he appears at, with the exception of a few things, everything, like every monster he appears as, is kind of just like cartoony, CGI cartoony, and it's just bubbly looking, big bubbly eyes and big heads.
Yeah, that was,
And
I thought when he was appearing as Patrick Hockstetter under Henry Bowers' bed in the insane asylum. That looked really good.
When he pulls up in the car.
Yeah, that's good. That looks really, really good. Yeah, that was awesome. I thought that was scary. The scene with the little girl under the bleachers at the football game.
Which was written
horrifying.
Which was not in the book, but was written for the movie, which was excellent.
It was,
that was one
really,
of the best
really
scenes
good.
in it. Yeah.
Really scary, and it's like
and the
awful.
Paul Bunyan.
Yeah, Paul Bunyan
that
looked
one was
pretty
done
good.
well, but there was just so many things in there that he's just too goofy looking, and that mix that with, like I said, too much comedy. And
when Beverly goes into the apartment and it starts out so spooky, and the Mrs. Kirsch or whatever is doing all of her little weird twitches and stuff like that. She looks so insane, and it's so good. And then all of a sudden, when she comes out and she's like super tall and naked with her floppy, like
bubbly eyes
and her big goofy boobs wagging around, I'm just like, come on! It was like a cartoon. It wasn't even. I don't know. It was really.
What did you think about Eddie Kaspbrak's leper? The leper hobo.
I didn't like that scene. It didn't make any sense to me.
What do you think? How do you think it looked, though? As far as
I didn't like it. Did you like it?
That one I wasn't too bad about. I didn't think. But then they totally. I do not get it. Eddie is choking out the hobo, and he's getting advantage of it. And all of a sudden, then the hobo pukes this black goo all over him, and they start playing Angel in the Morning by Juice.
Angel of the Morning by
Juice Newton.
So if anybody has any insight into that scene,
and I have no idea
please leave it in the comment section below.
Right. I have no idea why they did that, but it was just like, what the heck
I know,
was
it
that?
was like, this is a weird thing. Is it a mistake? It was very, very strange.
Right, yeah. But now they did do a very good job of casting. Again, James McAvoy was Bill, Jessica Chastain as Beverly, Bill Hader as Richie, Isaiah Mustafa as Mike, Jay Ryan as Ben, James Ranson as Eddie Kaspbrak, and Andy Bean as Stanley, and Bill Skarsgård returned as Pennywise. But James Ranson, who was Deputy So-and-so from Sinister, which we love Sinister, he did a really good job. He looked like Eddie. I mean, all of these actors actually look like their child counterparts. They actually look like the people they would have grown up to be. But Ben is super handsome, but even his eyes, I noticed, are the same eyes as the child actor. And remember, you were talking about the boardroom, where at first they lead you to believe that the
chubby guy is going to be Ben.
That was the actor that plays Ben in the miniseries, the original miniseries.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that part they did well.
I also liked one thing, which I couldn't say it in the other video, because some of the things you were asking me to say that I liked had spoilers in them, so I couldn't. But one of the things I liked about Bill and the boy on the skateboard, because that's a nod to the book. Obviously, Bill comes in contact with the boy on the skateboard, and he's like utterly charmed by this kid, and the way the kid, he tells the kid be careful, and the kid's like, you can't be careful on a skateboard, mister. And that's a line that sticks with people that are big Stephen King fans. But so I really like that they included the skateboard in that. I did. And I thought that kid was believable. He was a really good kid to stick in there. He was really good. But then again, like what you said when we were talking about this morning over coffee, is so here's this kid in the fun house, and Bill's like being seen running into the fun house,
shaking the kid in the middle of the street, talking to him.
And then Pennywise eats the kid, and then Bill leaves, and like the cops are never like, we saw you, It just, I don't know.
And another character that they really screwed up in this movie was Silver, his bike.
Yeah.
Because it serves no purpose whatsoever in the movie, which in the book it did when he's an adult.
I did like that they called the store Secondhand Rose, because that was in the book. Secondhand Rose, Secondhand Clothes was the store that he went into. And I have to say this, I did like the appearance of Stephen King.
Sure.
I did like that. It's nice we haven't seen him pop up in one of his movies in quite a few years. He looks pretty much like he did when I met him. When I met him, I did meet him. So, but that's been probably about 15 years ago. But he doesn't look that much different from when I met him. Tall and thin and kind of a little bit stooped, but he looked good, I thought, and he did a good job. I liked it. I kept expecting him to morph into some version of Pennywise, though. I did. That didn't happen, but...
Yeah, but basically it seems like they wrote that whole scene for nothing other than to throw Stephen King in.
Yeah, I know, and because I know Bill it was gratuitous, but I still liked it.
He goes to the secondhand store and sees his bicycle from childhood, Silver, in the front window, but... other than using it to ride to the carnival to watch the child be eaten by it served no purpose.
Right, and Silver was a big deal. It was like a magic talisman. Silver was like a magical talisman that he had in the first one, because he and Richie were on the bike together when they got away from the Wolfman, remember? And so that was like a big deal, and none of that magic is conveyed in this one at all with Silver at all.
And when they all have to go get their different artifacts to bring for the ritual of Chud, which again was one of those things
super disappointing.
It didn't make any sense at all.
I was hoping that they were actually going to do it. I mean, I thought this is going to be, how are they going to translate this to the screen? But as soon as Mike mentioned the ritual of Chud, I got excited because I was looking forward to seeing them do this, and then they didn't do it. So that was kind of lame. And then shall we talk about the elephant in the room? Or
well, let's see.
You really like. Well, we liked that Ben and Beverly wound up together.
The love, yeah.
We liked that they.
Because that's one of the things that bugged me even in the book. What I read when I was a teenager and I read the book, I thought, man, this is the most fantastic thing. And then I read it a couple of years later. I'm like, it's still pretty good. But one of the things that bugged me is in the book, Beverly winds up with Ben, but basically she winds up with him because Bill's already taken.
Right, he's the consolation prize.
Right, and Ben has been in love with Beverly all these years and I mean, he's in love with her. But in this, they actually do it right, and they wind up together, and I do think that's one of those things where love matters in the movie and everything.
Because her and Bill, when they kiss in the Derry townhouse, it's like all of a sudden they look at each other and they kiss, and they're remembering when they kissed as kids and how powerful it was and meaningful to them, and then they look into each other's eyes and they kiss, and then when they pull back from the kiss, they look kind of weird. And I thought they did a really good job in that moment of their facial expressions and their eyes saying, okay, this wasn't what we thought it was.
Right.
This isn't right.
Right.
I liked that. I thought that was good.
Yeah, and that's another one of the reasons why Audra, Bill's wife, played such a part in the book, in the miniseries, is because Bill was in love with his wife. And in this, she's such a throwaway character because she's literally on screen maybe 3 or 4 minutes if that, and she's totally thrown away. And they diminish him so badly in this movie, and I hated that. And another thing I absolutely hate, which is the elephant in the room or whatever, is this plot that they came up with that Richie has been in love with Eddie. He was in love with him as a child, and because he had completely forgotten, when he remembers that he's in love with Eddie. And it has been holding this. This is one of the things with, I'm going to tell you a secret, Richie. And it would be different if they would have, because it was a scene they threw in as a childhood. They filmed it for this movie. And they didn't bring it up whatsoever in the first movie, which would have been when it would have been the most terrifying for Richie to be exposed as a child. But in this, they bring it up, and even though Richie hasn't had no recollection of Eddie whatsoever in 27 years, when he suddenly realizes that he's been in love with Eddie all these years, it was like, what the heck, really? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I was a little bit like, again, and this is something that happens right now, and it's controversial, and people, get either worked up about it or they're all for it, and it's strong opinions on both sides of the coin. But I personally don't like it when they throw a character in there and turn that character gay just for the sake of having a gay character. It's like when they used to do what they would call, and I know this isn't politically correct, or what they would call like the token black character. Right. And they would just put a person in there of color to make a statement that this movie is going to be inclusive. And now they're doing that with gay and lesbian characters, and I just don't understand why. I don't like that.
As well as they totally made this movie into a soapbox for anti-bullying.
Yes.
And believe me, when I was a kid, a little fat kid, which I related very much with Ben Hanscom, that he was like my favorite character even when I read the book. I know what bullying is about, but they have totally made this thing into an anti-bullying, and the best way to defeat evil Pennywise is we're gonna bully him to death.
Seriously.
And that was like the stupidest thing of all time.
I got so angry when I don't even remember which character said it. There are more ways to make him small.
Right.
And they started, and I was like, right as soon as they said that, I was like, oh my gosh, they are going to bully Pennywise. And that's exactly what happened.
Yes.
You can't bully Pennywise to death.
The devourer of worlds.
Come on.
The shatterer.
It made me so angry. And him shrinking.
He becomes a little baby.
And they're like insulting Pennywise, and he becomes little tiny itty bitty baby Pennywise. It was so bad. It made me so stinking angry that I was like, this sucks. It sucks of epic proportions. It sucks. I'm never going to get over how bad it sucks. It's terrible. You can't bully Pennywise to death.
Bill Hader, I guess that's how you say his name.
Heater.
Bill Hader. He was so good as Richie, and if anybody deserved to have funny lines, it was Richie. But I thought that was so stinking stupid that Pennywise knows your secret, and I'm gonna reveal it, and you're gonna be destroyed. I'm like, are you kidding me, man?
Especially in this day and age, when people, it's almost trendy now to have gay characters and everything, and because people are more out than they ever have been.
It takes place in 2016 as the adults. 2016.
Right. So people are more out than they ever have been, and yet, all of a sudden Pennywise is acting like this is like the big terrible thing, and everyone's gonna hate Richie if they find out he's gay. Well,
it's totally one of those things where they were like like I said, a soapbox, man. They decided to throw all these little political correct statements in there and everything. How they didn't throw in something about Donald Trump or something, because that's how they've been doing everything is about political correctness.
And I'm just tired of seeing that in our movies. It's like we're not into politics. We're not people that are super into politics. We're just not, and
to be thumped over the head with it in
all
everything
the
you
time.
watch, man. But yeah,
on both sides. I'm not saying it's neither side. It's just both sides. We're just tired of it. Can't you just have a horror movie be a horror movie?
And but
instead of putting in today's societal horrors in it.
But to bully this monster of epic proportions to death.
A monster that has devoured worlds. He said, "I am an eater of worlds," and he got bullied to death.
Was one of the. I mean, there was quite a few stupid things in this movie, but that one, man,
it just was
those two
disappointing.
things that just bugged the crap out of me. All right, so what else we got here?
I don't know. Oh, you're at 30 minutes.
All right,
you're about done.
Well, what do we got? 35.
32.
32. Dude, we gotta go. But
Dude, we gotta go.
Thanks for joining us. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for future content, more movie reviews.
You've got lots of horror movie reviews coming up, don't you?
Yeah, a lot of older
Without
stuff. Me. Well, you'll be in there from time to time. I enjoy our banter, so.
He never gets enough of me.
That's right. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, you can check it out if you wanna. If you just rented it, it would be okay, I think, as well. But yeah.
It is not.
That's the feeling I
had.
Isn't. Deep sigh when it was over with. Everything. All right, folks. Thank you for joining. Check us out. Check back with us.
We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. All right. Bye-bye.